A Treatise of Satan's Temptations. Part 2. By Richard Gilpin. A Discourse of the Malice, Power, Cruelty and Diligence of Satan. Chapter 5. Part 2. Satan's attempts against the peace of God's children evidenced, 1. By his malice, 2. From the concernment of peace to God's children, what these concerns are, explained. 3. From the advantages which he hath against them by disquieting their minds, 1. Confusion of mind, 2. Unfitness for duty, and how, 3. Rejection of duty, 4. A stumbling block to others, 5. Preparation of the mind to entertain venomous impressions, and what they are, 6. Bodily weakness, 7. Our miseries Satan's contentment. 1. From the trouble of the spirit he raiseth confusions and distractions of mind, 4. 1. It is as natural to trouble to raise up a swarm of muddy thoughts as to a troubled sea to cast up mire and dirt. And hence is that comparison, Isaiah 57:20. 1,000 fearful surmises, evil cogitations, resolves, and counsels immediately offer themselves. This disorder of thoughts Christ took notice of, in his disciples when they were in danger. Why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Luke 24:38. And David considered it as matter of great anxiety, which called for speedy help. Psalm 94:19, In the multitude of my thoughts within me, thy comforts delight my soul. Sometimes one fear is suggested, then presently another. Now this doubt perplexeth, then another question is begot by the former. They think to take this course, then by and by, they are off that, and resolve upon another, and as quickly change again to a third, and so onward, one thought succeeding another, as vapors from a boiling pot. 2. Such thoughts are vexatious and distracting. The very thoughts themselves, being the poisonous steams of their running sores, are sadly afflictive, and not unfitly called cogitation as, oneros, burdensome thoughts. But as they wrap up a man in clouds and darkness, as they puzzle him in his resolves, nonplus him in his undertakings, distract him in his counsels, disturb and hinder him in his endeavors, etc., so do they bring the mind into a labyrinth of confusion. What advantage the devil hath against the child of God, when his heart is thus divided and broken into shivers, it is easy to imagine. And David seems to be very sensible of it when he put up that request, Psalm 86:11, Unite my heart to fear thy name. 2. By disquiet of heart the devil unfits men for duty or service. Fitness for duty lies in the orderly temper of body and mind, making a man willing to undertake, and able to finish his work with comfortable satisfaction. If either the body or mind be distempered, a man is unfit for such an undertaking. Both must be in a suitable frame, like a well-tuned instrument, else there will be no melody. Hence, when David prepared himself for praises and worship, he tells us his heart was ready and fixed, and then his tongue was ready also, so was his hand with psaltery and harp. All these were awakened into a suitable posture, Psalm 45:1 and 2, and Psalm 108:1 and 2. That a man is or hath been in a fit order for service may be concluded from 1. His alacrity to undertake a duty. 2. His activity in the prosecution. 3. His satisfaction afterward, right grounds and principles in these things being still presupposed. This being laid as a foundation, we shall easily perceive how the troubles of the spirit do unfit us for duty. 4. First, these do take away all alacrity and forwardness of the mind, partly by diverting it from duty. Sorrows when they prevail, do so fix the mind upon the present trouble, that it can think of nothing but its burden. They confine the thoughts to the pain and smart, and make a man forget all other things, as David in his trouble forgot to eat his bread, Psalm 102:4. And sick persons willingly discourse only of their diseases. Partly by indisposing for action. Joy and hope are active principles, but sorrow is sullen and sluggish. As the mind in trouble is wholly employed in a contemplation of its misery, rather than in finding out a way to avoid it, so if it be at leisure at any time, to entertain thoughts of using means for recovery. Yet it is so tired out with its burden, so disheartened by its own fears, so discouraged with opposition and disappointment, that it hath no list to undertake anything. By this means the devil brings the soul into a spiritual katoche, so congealing the spirits, that it is made stiff and deprived of motion. 2. Disquiets of heart unfit us for duty, by hindering our activity and prosecution of duty. The whole heart, soul, and strength should be engaged in all religious services, but these troubles are as clogs and weights to hinder motion. Joy is the dilatation of the soul, and widens it for anything which it undertakes, but grief contracts the heart, and narrows all the faculties. Hence doth David beg an enlarged heart, as the principle of activity, Psalm 69:32, I will run the way of thy commandments, when thou shalt enlarge my heart. For what can else be expected when the mind is so distracted with fear and sorrow, but that it should be uneven, tottering, weak, and confused? So that if it do set itself to anything, it acts troublesomely, drives on heavily, and doth very little with a great deal ado. And yet, were the unfitness the less, if that little which it can do were well done, but the mind is so interrupted in its endeavors, that sometimes in prayer the man begins, and then is presently at a stand, and dare not proceed, his words are swallowed up, he is so troubled that he cannot speak, Psalm 77:4. Sometimes the mind is kept so employed and fixed on trouble, that it cannot attend in hearing or praying, but presently the thoughts are called off, and become wandering. Third, troubles hinder our satisfaction in duty, and by that means unfit us to present duties, and indispose us to future services of that kind. Our satisfaction in duty ariseth 1. Sometimes from its own luster and sweetness, the conviction we have of its pleasantness, and the spiritual advantages to be had thereby. These render it alluring and attractive, and by such considerations are we invited to their performance, as Isaiah 2:3, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. Hosea 6:1, Come, and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. But trouble of spirit draws a black curtain over the excellencies of duty, and presents us with frightful thoughts about it, so that we judge of it according to our fears, and make it frightful to ourselves, as if it would be to no purpose, rather a mischief than an advantage. 2. Sometime our satisfaction ariseth from some special token of favor, which our indulgent Father lets fall upon us, while we are in his work, as when he gives us more than ordinary assistance, or puts joy and comfort into our hearts. And this he often doth to make us come again, and to engage afresh in the same or other services, as having tasted and seen that the Lord is gracious, 1 Peter 2:3, and that there is a blessedness in waiting for him. As in our bodies he so orders it, that the concocted juices become a successive ferment, to those that succeed from our daily meat and drink, so from duties performed, doth he beget and continue spiritual appetite to new undertakings. But oh how sadly is all this hindered by the disquiet of the heart! The graces of faith and love are usually obstructed, if not in their exercise, yet in their delightful fruits, and if God offer a kindness, inward sorrow hinders the perception, as when Moses told the Israelites of their deliverance, they hearkened not for hard bondage, Exodus 6:9. If a message of peace present itself in a promise, or some consideration of God's merciful disposition, yet usually this is not credited. Job confesseth so much of himself, Job 19:16, If I had called and he had answered me, yet would I not believe that he had hearkened unto my voice. David also doth the like, Psalm 72:2, 3, My soul refuseth to be comforted. I remembered God, and was troubled. Matter of greatest comfort is often so far from giving ease, that it augments the trouble. However, the heart is so hurried with its fears, and discomposed with grief, that it cannot hearken to, nor consider, nor believe any kind offer made to it. By all these ways doth the devil, through the disquiet of mind, unfit the Lord's people for duty. And what a sad advantage, this is against us cannot easily be told. By this means he may widen the distance betwixt God and us, keep our wounds open, make us a reproach to religion, and what not. But 3. By these disquiets he pusheth us on to reject all duties. For when he hath tired us out by wearisome endeavors, under so great indispositions and unfitness, he hath a fair advantage to tempt us to lay all aside. Our present posture doth furnish him with arguments, he forgeth his javelins upon our anvil, and they are commonly these 3. Thanks.